So, very good afternoon to everybody, and once again, a very warm welcome to our Business Spotlight series. My name's Ron Maycock. I am the owner of Business Performance UK and Action Coach Castleford, and I'm delighted this afternoon to be joined by Harry Pykett. Harry, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ron.
It's great to have you with us. And Harry is the owner and founder of Homeboy Pizza. We're going to be hearing plenty more from him in just a few moments. Before we do that, though, I really wanted to share what the purpose of these interviews actually are. So there's some amazing businesses in our region. They're each on their own journeys. And these interviews actually help us share their achievements, share their successes, and actually raise awareness. And we do this in the name of abundance. The more people that get to hear about Homeboy Pizza Company, then the better as far as I'm concerned. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Harry. So Harry, do you want to tell me a little bit more about Homeboy Pizza?
Yeah, I mean, Homeboy Pizza started just as a passion project during lockdown, really. I was baking a lot of bread before lockdown. My dad baked a lot of bread when we were younger, so it was always something that I kind of wanted him to pass down. And I suppose kind of morbidly, I thought it might take a lot longer for me to learn, so maybe get cracking with it now. So I wanted to, so yeah, I was baking a lot of bread, and then looking into sort of bread online and looking at YouTube and, kind of teaching myself that way. The sourdough kind of craze was at the height, I'd say. So I started my own sourdough starter and started baking a lot of bread. So during lockdown, I purchased an Uni pizza oven for the back garden. And it was just through Instagram ads that I just thought I'd keep myself entertained during lockdown. There's not much else to do. I was working for Jameson Whiskey at the time, so my job role with them was I was an on-trade account manager, so I was looking after bars and restaurants in the north of England. So as they were closed, I had a lot of spare time and started baking pizza. So it was the kind of love for, or the passion behind baking, and I just wanted to kind of see if I was because I was doing it in my home oven anyway. So I just wanted to see if I bought an oven, if I could, I don't know, if it kind of did make the difference, and lo and behold, it did. And then the reason the business started because I was just, I think the main reason was I was trying to find an excuse to hang out with one of my pals during lockdown. So we just started making, I don't know, a pizza oven's a little bit like a barbecue as well, in the sense that you don't really want to fire up a pizza oven. It takes about 20 minutes and quite a bit of fuel to get it going. So to fire it up for 1 or 2 pizzas seems a bit like a waste. So I'd bake, or I'd make 20 or 30 pizza doughs. And at the time, well, I still live in the same house, but at the time it was a new build. So there's quite a good like Facebook community group for that estate. Mm-hmm. So I was posting a little menu in there, or just a picture of a pizza saying, sending my address and telling people to come down and grab a pizza if they wanted to. And that's essentially how it started. And we've not stopped making. I've made pizza pretty much every weekend since then. So yeah.
Excellent. So as sort of lockdown finished and it moved more into being a full-time business then, what was your starting point with that?
So after lockdown, I got married in 2022. So I'm just trying to think when lockdown ended, but I was still working full-time after that, and it was the business was definitely part-time, and it kind of was just creeping into weekends. Yeah. So we weren't doing it necessarily every weekend. We got to a point where we were doing some bigger events, and the business was kind of self-sufficient. So we weren't having to kind of put in any of our own money into it, because we'd do one event every 2 weeks. We'd make a few hundred quid, and then we'd just buy some more equipment. So we'd buy a gazebo, we'd buy extra ovens, we'd buy things to make the operation a little bit more slick. We then things got a little bit cheaper because we were able to create an account with like an Italian wholesaler. Mm-hmm. And then, the reason that I didn't quit my job earlier is just because I was getting married, and it was coming out of lockdown, and everything was quite treacherous, I'd say. Like, it was quite, I don't know, it was yeah, it wasn't. I suppose it didn't really seem like the greatest time to. There was lots of bars and restaurants all closing, and it didn't seem like the smartest time to sort of leave a full-time job to start doing this full-time, because I didn't know how it was going to go. So I was doing it part-time for a year and a half until I got married, and then after that, I kind of handed my notice in pretty early after that. But it all started from straight after lockdown. My job with Jameson Whiskey gave me a good foot in the door to a lot of bars and restaurants. So we started a residency every weekend at a place called Blueberry Hill Studios, which is just down the road from the shop, actually, which isn't there anymore. But after lockdown, it had a big outside area and very popular, and we're there every Saturday, and then whenever we could on a Friday. And that kind of propelled the business and gave us the cash flow to be able to make decisions and take risks and do things that we wouldn't have done just on a back garden pizza wage, you know. So that's kind of where it started.
So is the oven mobile? So you take the oven and then fix it to a venue rather than you're in a van.
Exactly. Yeah. So we go around.
Event.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we pop up a 3x3 gazebo.
Yeah. So it's more of a pop-up rather than a mobile kind of setup kind of thing. So you're not doing it out the shutter of the caravan kind of scenario. So okay. So as it sort of progressed then, so it's gone from various different events, and I know when we sort of first connected, then, you know, as I think I said to you, I sort of looked at the website and the journey and everything like that, and it's now moved into physical bricks and mortar. So when did that happen, and how's that transition been?
So that happened. So before we moved into the shop, we were actually doing a residency, doing a different style of pizza. So it was Detroit style pizza, which is like a deep dish pan baked pizza. Yeah. And we were doing that in a bar called Roland's, and we started in Harrogate in not last May, the May before. Yeah. So we were there for over a year and a half, and then we had the opportunity to go into Roland's in Leeds as well. So we not so much a bricks and mortar, but we had a residence in a bar. So that was Tuesday to Sunday. So that was a bit more of a full-time thing. So that's eventually when I did leave work. That was the reason why, because we got this opportunity. And then we did that for about a year and a half, and then I got a message from, there's a pizza business called Harpo's, which has been it's been in Leeds for 40 odd years. The guys that started in Headingley, so just up the road from where we are now in Burley. And then they've got a site in Street Lane. So essentially they've gone from one site 40 odd years ago to two sites now. And the nephew of the owners is the current owner. So kind of approached me on Instagram saying, "Are you looking for your own shop?" And I was like, definitely, you know, open to ideas, but also at the time, you know, I certainly don't have the money to buy a business or fit out my own shop unless I was looking to get a personal loan or something of the, I don't know, something of similar, I don't know, just to be able to try and gain some capital from somewhere. So yeah, he approached me on Instagram, and essentially we've just the guy's called Will, who owns Harpo's still, and we're essentially leasing the business off him, and he's the landlord. So that's kind of how we got into here. So we've been given an opportunity, like, you know, on a silver platter. Really, it's something that wouldn't have been possible if Will wasn't so, I suppose, so lenient with how I was going to pay him back, you know. So I think it's just, I got to give him a lot of credit, and the reason that we're here is because he sees a lot of value in, he wanted someone to move in that was doing pizza and, you know, continuously going to continue doing pizza, and actually cares about it. So I think there's a lot of places these days that, I think your majority of the pizza takeaways, unless it's your big chains, your pizza takeaways are doing doner kebabs and burgers as well. So I think my idea of turning, I don't know, you've got the restaurant side has been, I don't know, there's not really much I can do that Rudy's or Pizza Pilgrims can't. So looked at the takeaway model, which is essentially the same as what we do at events anyway. You know, people would come up to the gazebo or wherever we are, and they would place an order, and then they would take the pizza and, you know, go elsewhere. And it's kind of the similar model here is what we're used to, and it's a similar kind of service style. So
Yeah.
that's all that came about.
So whereabouts are you actually in Burley or?
Yeah, we're in Burley, so it's just off Coastal Road. So
yeah, okay.
We're on Burley Road.
Right, okay, excellent. So I guess one of the real draws to that is the kind of footfall in a predominantly student orientated area. There's an awful lot of student residencies in houses that are sort of rented. And it is a staple, you know, even my time at Leeds University, going back 30 odd years ago, quite frankly, Harpo's was there, and that was a bit of a mainstay anyway. So you're tugging heartstrings of memories and things like that.
For sure.
With that food. So so you've got the shop now. How much of the sort of event side are you still doing? Is that still, you know, something that when you can, you're still engaging with people for events? Or
100%. I mean, the event is the bread and butter of the business. I try to. The one thing that keeps it fresh and exciting for me is that we do Neapolitan style at events, and that is without getting too detailed into it, but the Neapolitan style is cooked very fast. It cooks in about 60 to 90 seconds each pizza. But that's the reason that's good for events is because you can churn pizzas out very quickly and people aren't kind of waiting around. So we do Neapolitan style there, and then at the shop here we do New York style. So it's a slightly longer bake and a little bit crispier crust. So it just doing two different concepts and two different styles keeps it exciting for me, and hopefully keeps it exciting for customers as well. Because if we were to do the same pizza and the same menu at events as well as the shop, there's almost no reason to go to both. You know, if someone really does like our Neapolitan style, then they can kind of follow the events and see where we are and keep up to date on Instagram and see where we're going to be popping up. And then if you are I don't know, keen on the New York style, it's quite a new concept for us, but if you're keen on that, then you know where we are. Also, the New York style does travel a little bit better in boxes because as soon as you shut the box, it starts to steam a little bit. So the crispier base does sort of last and travel a little bit better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the business now, how many people have you got in the business? How many people support you, and what's your main role, I guess, these days? Is it still making the pizzas and making the doughs, or are you moving more into running it as a business?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges for me. It's been sort of taking the day-to-day, making the pizza, and sort of like, I don't know, I think when you make something so specific as pizza and you don't really kind of veer away from that, it's quite hard to let go of the reins of the like the quality control, I suppose. Like I fully trust my guys to do it, but it's just, I don't know, I feel lost when I'm not there. So I try and keep, I'm still doing a lot now. I had a baby 13 weeks ago now, so it was kind of perfect. Thank you. It was kind of perfect and horrible timing coming into the shop because where I'd like to be at home, and the reason I set the business up in the first place is so I could be flexible when eventually we start a family. So and it's been the complete opposite. So we started here on the 7th of June, and my boy was born on the 1st of April. So it's just been a lot. So now we've got, to answer the question, we've got 6 full-timers, including me, and 3 or 4 part-timers. So my intention now from pretty much this week is to start to move into a bit more of an operations role where, you know, if I'm working full-time in the shop, you know, the guys aren't getting their rota till Monday morning. So things like that it doesn't really work if I'm working full-time here in the shop. Or, you know, I'm having to pull 70, 80-hour weeks, which is fine every now and again. And when you first get started, but it's not really sustainable. So, yeah, now's the time. It's like literally this week where I need to start to take a step back from the kitchen a little bit. And like, hand some of the reins over to the guys, but I fully trust them. It's also just the
your
fun.
metaphorical baby.
Yeah, exactly. Also, it's just the fun part as well. Like, why would I want to be sat at home at a laptop all day when I could be here making pizza? So
No, absolutely. So with the model, in terms of how you get your name out there, so you, as you said, you used the situation of lockdown and the fact that communities were looking at reasons to get together when we were allowed to do so and all this kind of stuff. So you've used that. You used a lot of Instagram. Are you on any of the food delivery based things, which obviously, yes, it increases your volume, but takes a lot of your profit margin as well because of how they're often structured. But are you moving down that route, or is it?
Yeah, no, we've got an exclusive deal with Deliveroo. I think whenever in my old job, I feel like if you've got an exclusive partnership with one of your customers, you always seem to get the better support and you're top of the list for all the promotions or whatever it is that comes around. I'd hate to be at the peril of an algorithm and not have the best relationship with these delivery partners. So we've got an exclusive deal with Deliveroo, which gives us a better rate. And the way I see the delivery side of it, we've done a lot to the front of the shop. So like the actual shop, I suppose, feels a little bit more personable, and like we've put our sort of like Homeboy stamp on it a little bit. We've got a lot of the business was it was kind of the main branding behind the business was a lot like it was all around hip hop music and like pop culture. So we've kind of made the shop look a little bit more kind of Homeboy-esque, and it's nice enough for people to want to come in rather than just we've put some seats in here and some breakfast bars so people are able to eat in. So there is that. And then with the delivery service, the way I see it is, they do take a cut, but they take a cut of, let's say, I'd rather get a big chunk of the deliveries that we wouldn't have gotten in the first place. So it's I mean, you do come out better. It does seem like a lot sometimes, or it does seem like you've got to work harder for your money, but it's one of them things, like you wouldn't get that money if you weren't on these platforms. So it's very similar to
the hospitality on like accommodation. You use the booking.com or you don't, and if it's filling the rooms and it's doing lots of volume, it's worth the whatever percentage 100%. That you're paying, because it's business that you perhaps wouldn't have got. If you then get footfall off the back of that, where people go, oh, I'm just passing, so I'll go in myself, then obviously then you're getting that double win because you've won that customer in terms of what it. So what's next? It's been a bit of a whirlwind. So what do you sort of see as the next step for you?
Well, I'm not sure. I think when you first start a business like this, it is always what's next. We started in the back garden. What's next? I've left my job and I've pursued it full time. Like, what's the next step? What do we need to get? Where do we need to get to make this viable business and make it successful? So then we started these residencies, and then it's like, right, what's next? We'll take on the second role and site, and then you're always in the back of mind. I'm gunning for my own shop. So I think what's next is just more of the same. We've got now we've got a shop. It gives us the flexibility to not have to, our event, the event side of the business is April to September. When the sun comes out, the events are busier, and if we're not in the shop, it means that we have to struggle throughout winter to scrape doing these events that we shouldn't really be doing in conditions that aren't fit for eating pizza outside. So I think it gives us the flexibility to do the events that we want to do during the summer, and then really concentrate on the shop during the winter. Gives me an opportunity to take a little bit of a step back and not so much just smell the roses, but spend time with family and be able to run the business properly the way it should be run. I'll still be here probably more often than I should be, but it just gives me the flexibility to be at home, which is my intention when I first started the business anyway. And I think what's next is whatever opportunity arises that feels right. I'm not in a position where I need to be pushing anything now, so that's the flexibility the shop's given me. The events do good money during summer. The shop will hopefully be a year-round, nicely everything ticking over nicely. So that's kind of, I don't know, I'm not quite sure what's next. Nothing's on the cards. But that's exactly where I want it to be. I want it to be at a point where we aren't looking for the next thing. We're just content with what we've got, and now we've opened the shop. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Well, it's gone as well as I'd hoped it would, and there's room for improvement. We've inherited an oven that isn't quite up to the demand. So I've got another oven coming next Thursday. So from that point, we'll be kind of off to the races really in the shop. So, I'm open to ideas. Maybe more opportunities will come when I'm not, when I've not got my head down in the kitchen so much. But, Harpo's have got a second site. Whether that comes up, I'm not sure. We'll have that conversation if it does. But as it stands now, we're not kind of struggling. We don't need to be. I don't know. I don't need to be pushing for the next thing. The next thing is just getting the shop right and making sure we've fully established ourselves in this area. And I don't know. I just don't like to spread things too thin over the course of the last 4 years now. I found myself spreading everything quite thin because you've really got to work hard for your money. And now we've done the graft and we've got everything set up in the place that we need to be able to make good money. And just got to not kind of take it for granted, So we just got to concentrate on what we've got.
So by the sound of it, you're probably entering a consolidation phase where it's just stabilised for a little bit and then assess and decide where you go from there.
Yeah.
In terms of the feedback that you get from people, why is it that you've been successful? What's standing out with you, your brand and your service and your product that they aren't getting or prefer to get from yourselves rather than the multitude of pizza takeaways that frequent the area?
I'd say the first thing is the dough. We've always used sourdough. So everything, every pizza, every dough, every pizza that everyone will have ever bought from us is 100% sourdough. So that's got like a couple of different benefits of. For me, it keeps me on my toes. It makes it much more difficult. And I think I like to know that when someone buys a pizza, because let's say I'm making some dough now and that won't be ready until tomorrow evening, if not the day after. So I like to know that whoever's buying a pizza from us knows that we've spent the time and effort on the process and like made sure we've not cut any corners, because there's just no way you can really cut corners with sourdough. There's got to be a lot of planning and preparation involved with it, and there's nowhere to hide really. So there's that side of it. And I think from like a service point of view, I feel like I've worked in restaurants and bars before where there's always a divide between the bar and the kitchen, or the front of house and the kitchen. And coming from a front of house side, you do realise that a lot of the time the chefs are under a lot of pressure, and there's a little bit of frostiness, and you wouldn't normally just put the chefs at front of house because they're not always in the best of moods, let's say. And I don't know, I've just always taken that into my business and thought, just because we're chefs, or I'd say that lightly, but just because we're making the food for people, it doesn't mean we need to be. I think there's always just like a little bit of a divide between chefs and I think chefs have got that sort of. They've got that, reputation of being a bit
feisty.
Yeah. Let's call it feisty. So I think from that side, I'd like to surround myself and build a team that is of the same mindset of me, and we're like a little happy family here, and I feel like that resonates a lot with the customers and resonates a lot on our Instagram, and people understand that people can get to know us quite well, and I think that's just as important as the food is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if that becomes your brand, essentially is the tribe that you're building, then that's what people are buying into ultimately.
For sure.
Is it fundamentally different from other places that are doing sourdough? Probably not. But if you're creating a brand and an atmosphere and a tribe and a following, then that community will serve you well. You know, so that's
Let's
great.
hope so.
Sort of, I guess, you know, one of the final questions, because there's always things that we can learn along our journey. It doesn't matter how successful it's been or whatever. And you know, I know you mentioned about spreading yourself quite thin at times. Is there any advice that you would give to other people starting a business, purely based on your learnings and your journey?
For me, the only real advice I feel sort of that I'm qualified to give is try and start a business of something that you really like doing, because the amount of hours and you know, sacrifice you've got to give if you want to start your own business is it's not possible unless you really do love it. Does sound quite, you know, sounds quite cheesy, but you know, unless you do really love doing it, like it won't last, because it'll grind on you, and there's a lot of things you've got to sacrifice, and you'll throw in the hat easier if you're not doing something you genuinely love. I had no intention of starting a pizza business. I was just doing it because I enjoyed it, and it kind of took over work. So that would be my biggest advice: is don't look for somewhere to start your own business. Is do something that you love and see if there's a way to monetize it.
Yeah. No.
And then the only other thing is that don't try to be. I mean, one thing that I still do now, and I need to get better at, is like delegating some of the more difficult jobs where, you know, I've always thought, you know, if I make one bad pizza for someone and I don't have ownership over that, then no one will come anymore, and people will just stop. You know, every time we open, I'm like, is anyone going to come tonight? And there's that fear, but you know, you just got to trust that people do, and like start to offload some of the. So just delegating some of the more important jobs, and I'm fine at it now. I could be better, but don't as the business owner, if you want to get to a point where you can actually have any time off at all, get to a point where you're happy with other people doing the same work, because if you keep it too close to yourself, then like I didn't let anyone else make any dough for 2 years. So it's, you know, if you can't offload some of the bigger jobs, then you'll find yourself working every day of the week, which is, you know, again, not sustainable. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And then as you were talking through, there's a Japanese concept called ikigai, and ikigai is all about that sort of contentment, and there's 4 parts to it. You need to find something that you love doing. You need to find something that you're good at doing. You need to find something that the world needs, and you need to find something that the world will pay you for. And if you've got all 4 of those in your job, you are in ikigai. That is
okay.
that the flow, that piece of inner peace where you are satisfying every need that you possibly have. So it's a vitally important thing, and you know, great share, because you know, lots of people get involved with it and think that they truly care and truly love what they're doing, and then it turns into monotonous kind of repeat and lots of stress, and they fall out of love with it.
Yeah.
So you know, there's no kidding ourselves. It's always going to be tough from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, the passion will get you through. And I think,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like, if I'm, you know, depending on regardless of how stressful or busy or hard it gets, if I have a couple of days off, I'm like itching to get back, you know.
yeah.
So it doesn't take long for me to, you know, it does get stressful and it's hard, but it's not so hard I don't want to go back to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's, you know, a great way of looking at it. As long as that passion is still there to be involved, yeah, you're going to have to learn to let go of a few other things as the business grows. Otherwise, you become the stumbling block of growth. You know, you become that single point failure within the business because you're doing too many things. But, you know, as you're growing, you know, you're long enough away from, you know, stifling the business's growth because of your involvement at the moment. You know, it's still early stages, so you can be involved and enjoy every bit of it. So that's great. So that's bringing us towards the end of the interview. I guess quick sense check. Is there anything that you'd like to add, or anything that we've not really covered today?
I mean, the only other thing that I'd like to add, I mean, I always do whenever I do anything like this. I always just forget to thank my parents on anything anything this related. It just for some reason doesn't come to mind, but I should be better at it. But you know, they've been a massive help from the start. Always been there to, I don't know, just never to. My mum's always very just a big sort of advocate for whatever we're doing. My dad's the same. And whenever, like, for example, like we had 6 days turnaround between Harpo's leaving here and us sort of opening, and they just dropped everything. We're here every single day. Whatever I needed, whatever running around I needed, they were here hand and foot. So, you know, I've got to thank my parents and my wife for all the help that they do behind the scenes as well. Because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of things that people see on Instagram, and you know, the guys that work here and work at Homeboys, everyone gets to see us, and we get the praise from the customers. But it's, you know, there's a lot of behind the scenes that family really help with. So that's one thing I do always kind of forget to mention, but shouldn't. But yeah, apart from that, the only other thing I'd like to say is just whoever's in Leeds, you know, we've been open 4 or 5 weeks now. Just come down and see the shop. Come and grab a pizza. We've got beers in the fridge, limoncello slushies, and sourdough pizzas for every night of the week. Well, Monday, Tuesday we're closed, but Wednesday through Sunday we're here for you.
I was going to say you had me at limoncello slushies. So
yeah, well, the guys at Roland's have got their own distillery, so they make their own limoncello.
Right. Oh, so brilliant.
We use that limoncello, and you know, just trying to make the most of summer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great idea. So, well, that does bring us to the end of the interview. So, big thank you to Harry for sharing and everything like that. If you're watching this and you want to record your own thing for your own business, if you want to get in touch, when we post these videos and we put them out there, we always put a link so that you can get in touch and record your own thing. So, as I said at the start, it's all about abundance. The more is more, the more people who get to know about businesses just like Homeboy Pizza, then the better, because you know that will sustain the economy, and long live the entrepreneur. That's what I say. So thanks again. Big thank you to Harry. It's been an absolute pleasure to host you today. And thank you for everyone who's been watching another of our Business Spotlight interview series. We'll see you soon. Keep smiling.